All right, thanks everybody for joining me today. Another edition of Free Training Thursday. My name is Scott Heiss. I'm a senior trainer here at Abacus. I see some familiar names out there in the audience, so welcome back and welcome to all of our new attendees as well. Today we're going to be talking about setting up our matters for payment schedules. Okay, it's usually something we see a lot in different practice areas, usually on our flat fee cases. Before we dive into everything, by show of hands, if you could please click your hand raising button just to let me know that you can see my screen okay. You should be able to see that there now. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised here. Okay, I do see a couple. Thank you very much for letting me know. I'm going to assume that you can hear me okay, since you're raising your hands. So again, we're going to be talking about setting up our matters to be billed on a schedule. So whether that schedule is broken down by the total dollar amount, by the monthly installment amount, or by the number of installments. Okay, you can do it, one of two ways. So we're actually going to begin here in the Abacus accounting program, and then I'm going to show you a tip that I usually teach people inside of AbacusLaw that will help as well. So inside of Abacus Accounting, you're actually going to go into your matter maintenance window, and you can get there easily by just clicking the little button in the top left corner that says Matters. That's the toolbar, by the way, the one with the icon. Okay, and that's going to take me into my Matters browse window, where I can then open up the matter that I need to set on a payment schedule. And this is done, notice again here, I'm in matter maintenance. So this is basically any accounting related default for this particular matter. So anything I change in this window, anything I alter in this window is only going to affect this matter. So just keep that in mind. This is not a global change. Now, for setting up our payment schedules, we actually do that on the billing tab. So you'll want to click into that billing tab there. And primarily, it's the billing frequency that we're changing. The other two items, the billing format code and the billing mode, will actually change automatically once you select a billing frequency of payment schedule. Okay, notice that bottom radial button there, payment schedule. But look what happened when I selected that. Okay, notice how my flat fee mode automatically got selected, because usually payment schedules are, a flat fee, and then they just pay installment amounts on that. So you'd want to make sure you put in that flat fee amount, whatever it's going to be. Okay, and then the other thing that changed was the billing format code. Okay, notice it changed to FFS, which is scheduled flat fee or flat fee schedule. The reason that's important to note there is because, when you have standard hourly monthly cases or contingency cases and things like that, the format of the bill itself always looks a little bit different, right? So for like a scheduled flat fee billing format code, we probably have a section inside of that bill that says like previous payments, updated balance, upcoming payments, things like that. Whereas, your hourly, standard monthly hourly bill, probably has a section in it specific for just like time entries and stuff like that. So it's important to note that because if for some reason you were ever doing a payment schedule that was not a flat fee, you'd want to make sure that you have the proper billing format code applied. Okay, and again, in this instance, it should be FFS. Okay, so those are the three things to look for there. Another thing that happened when I selected payment schedule was an extra tab appeared. I'll do that again for you. Okay, see how when I'm set to hourly monthly, it stops at fee sharing. Fee sharing is the last tab, but the second I select payment schedule, it adds a new tab for me. Okay, payment schedule. So when I click that, this is where I actually get to kind of determine, the terms of this payment schedule. Okay, now obviously, let me go back to my billing tab. I need to put in my flat fee amount. Okay, you're always going to do that whenever you put in your payment schedule. Okay, and now when you go into payment schedule, notice in addition to the matter name that's already there by default, but also the total flat fee amount is already there. Okay, so you have to decide, and I'm sure you probably have an internal protocol at your firm on how you do this, but are you going to calculate this based off of the installment amount, or are you going to calculate this based off of the number of installments? Okay, you get to decide. If you're going to do it by installment amount, then you need to make sure that you put in the proper amount. So if this is a $5,000 case, maybe I say this person pays me, I don't know, I'll just say $200, okay? First due date, okay, always put in your first due date. That is very important because the system obviously uses that to calculate, the monthly or installment balances. Okay, you got to have that to do the math. So I'll just say today is the first due date, middle of the month. Okay, usually time those around paydays. So middle of the month, $200 installment amount. And then, a very important part is the time interval. Okay, are we doing this weekly? Are they paying us $200 a week? Is it biweekly? Is it monthly? Okay, you have to tell the system. Again, this all comes back to calculating the math, right? So when I select monthly, okay, and I click add, there you go. Look at all my installments there now. Breaks them all out based off of my first due date. Notice that's just called scheduled payment number 1, okay? And then every other one after that is a month apart. So it's basically the 15th of every month. The due amount is $200. And if I scroll down, it takes me all the way down to the final payment, okay, $315.20. Now, if this was a wacky amount and it didn't come out, to be even, nice round numbers all the way around for each payment, it basically just makes the last payment, whatever the difference is. So, that could be less than, the normal installment. It just depends on what the total amount is, okay? So I'm going to cancel this, okay, because I don't want to save that. I want to show you the other way to do this now. Okay, and now I'm going to go back into matter maintenance. I'm going to open up that case again. Okay, I'm going to go into my billing tab. I'm going to choose payment schedule. I'm going to go into my payment schedule tab. And now I can actually calculate by the number of installments. Okay, first time we did it by the installment amount. So if I choose calculate by number of installments, oh, don't forget, I always forget this. Don't forget, you got to put in your flat fee amount, or else the system has nothing to calculate on. There we go. So I'm going to do calculate by number of installments. Okay, we've got our $5,000 amount, and I'm going to put in, we'll say 25 installments. Okay, and then again, I'm going to do my first due date. Okay, you can post or predate that. It's completely up to you. If they've already made some payments or something, you can put it back into the past if you need to for that date. And then of course I'll put in your time interval as well, and then click add, and that's going to calculate everything for you right there. Okay, so it basically just did it almost the exact same way it looks like. Okay, based off of the number of payments. Okay, so you can do it either way. Now, don't forget to save your changes or else it doesn't do you much good. So I'm going to go ahead and click save here. Okay, and that's going to save, any of those matter modifications. So you should see this nice little window here that says that everything was successfully saved. And you'll actually do that anytime you modify anything inside of matter maintenance. Okay, make sure you go in there and you save your changes. Once that's saved, you can go ahead and click done. Okay, back out here to your main screen. And now when it's time to generate invoices or anything like that, you've probably noticed this with some of the other invoicing that you've done. When you go into your billing process, when you start your billing process, there is a filter to actually filter by billing frequency. Okay, so I can actually specify all matters that are just listed as scheduled payment matters, and that would pull up any one of those matters for me. Okay, when I go to run my pre-bills, my actual bills, all that good stuff. So you can actually utilize that filter now. So one of the questions we get a lot is how can we get alerted to those payments that are coming up? Okay, now there's obviously some billing reports that you can run inside of accounting. There's always that. Notice your reports menu here. And if you have, if you're requiring some extra knowledge on reports, you can go into any one of these report windows and hit the F1 key on your keyboard, and that will open up the help guide and takes you to a section that explains all of our different reports. But one of the ways that I usually teach people to be reminded of upcoming payments is to actually create a scheduled payment rule inside of AbacusLaw. Okay, in AbacusLaw, and let me open that up real quick. Okay, so here we are. We're in the AbacusLaw program now, also known as front office. That's usually what I call it. So in here on our calendar, we can actually create a scheduled payment rule. Okay, most firms, when they do payment schedules, it's usually pretty defined, like for each case. The firm in general will usually always have some sort of like payment plan that they always do. Sometimes the amount of the payment will change. Like, this person's paying us $100 a month, this person's paying us $500 a month. That usually all comes down to the means of the client, right? But what rarely changes in those type of things is the interval. Usually it's like, you pay us every month or you pay us biweekly, and that's just kind of firm-wide. That's how you do it for all your cases. So when you create your rule, you can actually create, a scheduled payment rule for monthly payments and for, biweekly payments, whatever you want to do. And then when that case gets created inside of AbacusLaw, you can actually kick off that scheduled payment rule so that all of the payment dates are automatically calendared on your system for you. Okay, they're all on your calendar. So every time, whoever's responsible for that in the office comes in, they can just open up their calendar and they'll see on that day reminders for, which, matters have scheduled payments due on that date. And you would basically kick that off, just like any other rule. And for those of you who aren't familiar with rules, I highly recommend becoming familiar. These can make your life a lot better inside of the program and make your life a lot more efficient in the office. What I would recommend doing is going into your rules menu by just going to File, Setup, Rules, and in here you'll see all of your different calendaring rules. Okay, so you can imagine, if we just look at one of these random rules here, this actually has 5 different events in it. Okay, it has like a conflict check that has to get ran. It has a fee agreement, a malpractice suit search, a billing account opening. But imagine, just use your imagination for a second, and imagine if this was just a rule for scheduled monthly payments. And every time you had a client that was doing a monthly payment, you had a rule based off of that, and it would just schedule all of those reminder events for you. That's what I recommend you do. And if you need any extra help on how to create a rule inside of AbacusLaw, we do have a video on how to use a rule and how to create a rule on our website. Okay, if you just go to AbacusNext.com and then go to the More section, and you'll find training videos there. And of course, you can always reach out to us, training@AbacusNext.com, and we're happy to set up some time to go over how to set up and schedule rules on your calendar. But that's the basics of setting up a payment schedule inside of Abacus Accounting. That extra part about the rules was just kind of a tip I usually tell people. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions. Please use the question box, the chat box there in your GoToMeeting window, and my colleague Amanda is going to read those off to us. And Amanda, I think you might be on mute.
Yes, thank you, Scott. So our first question is, I do workers' comp cases in which I receive 20% of biweekly compensation benefits. Even though I do not bill anyone every 2 weeks, I receive the payments every 2 weeks. Can I use payment scheduling?
Yeah, absolutely. You totally can. It's, think of it, you're kind of doing it digitally. You're not, you're just doing it so that it's being recorded inside of the system. So yeah, can use it just like, it was just a normal payment, like someone was walking into the office and handing you a check. Do it the same way.
Our next question is, will the payment scheduling support the auto transfer from trust?
So you still have to go through your standard payments received operation in the system. So, that's all still going to be the same. So, you're going to make that payment out of trust when you do it. So if you're taking the payment money out of a trust account, every month, you're still going to go into your trust, demand check writer and your trust check requests, and you're going to run the request for that check, and you're going to take that payment. You're basically just setting up the schedule so that when it's time to take the payment, it actually pulls up, the payment schedules that are assigned to that matter, and you can choose which payment date you're applying. Okay, but so you still have to go through, the taking, removing money from trust, putting it into operating steps, just like you would with a normal client payment.
The next question is, can you change a matter that is on hourly to schedule payment?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So that's not uncommon. In matter maintenance, you'll notice when I open up a random case here, you always have the ability to alter, these settings in the middle of a case, and again, that's not uncommon. A lot of times you'll have, different, billing types based off of the phase of the case, right, or the type of the case. Maybe it's flat fee, until it, goes to trial or something like that, and then it's hourly. So yeah, you can always go in and edit any of those settings there if you need to. That's, not going to affect any of the previous bills that you've ran. It's not going to affect any of the previous billing reporting that's already documented in the system. That's all going to be there no matter what.
Does schedule payment show the payment received screen?
Does scheduled payments show the payments received screen? I'm not sure I'm following your question, but let me follow up with you afterwards, Amanda. If you could just jot down that person's contact info, I'll follow up and just get some additional information.
Absolutely, no problem. So the next question is, there's an option called automatically applied trust to bill. When we print the bill under monthly fee mode, the funds in the trust will apply to the bill automatically if we chose the option. My question is that, can we still use this under the payment scheduling?
Yeah, so you definitely can. You have to remember though, so basically what that person's referring to, for anybody who has never seen that, when you go into print or actually run an actual bill, there is an option when you go to do it. Let me just add one right here. Trust on bill, automatically apply trust to bill. So what this will do is if the matter has money in trust, it will automatically edit the bill to show that money from trust is being applied to the amount due. Okay? You just have to remember that's just a visual thing, okay? It doesn't actually move the trust money automatically. You still have to do that, okay? Unless you have the system set up to automatically do that for you, which is a setting I'll show you here in just a second. This is basically this setting here that says trust on bill. It's literally meaning on the bill itself, okay? It's only altering that. So that way when you hand your client a bill and they know that the money is coming out of trust to pay it, they know that they don't need to send you money. The balance due would actually be zero because it would say on the bill that you're taking $200 from trust to cover the $200 due, okay? But if you don't have the auto trust feature set up, then you still have to go in and you still have to make, your trust moves. Here's that setting I usually recommend most people turn on, and that's actually a company preference. So if you go to File, Set up Company Preferences, when this opens up, there's a little checkbox that lets you automatically do your trust check processing when you post your bill. So give this just a second here to open, and I will show you that checkbox. Here we go. So notice right here, auto trust check request upon posting bill. If you have that turned on, then when you go to post that bill, which is the third step in our, our billing process, it will actually automatically take you into the trust check request window where you can just do that trust transfer process at that point. So anytime you're utilizing that feature in the billing run that says auto apply trust to bill, if you like that feature and you use it a lot, I also recommend using this feature here, auto trust check request upon posting bills. So that way it kind of makes it like a seamless process for you. But the short answer to your question is, yeah, you can still do that if it's a scheduled payment.
The next question is the scheduled payment report created as a customized report?
So we actually, so we have a report already for it that comes with the program. The thing about accounting reports is that there isn't really an interface that comes with your system for you to customize those reports. Okay, it's not like in AbacusLaw, the case management program, where you can go in and you can kind of customize your layouts and customize your field data and all that stuff. If you are going through any report in the system and you feel like you want to have a different version of that, maybe a report that shows different fields and different data and has different queries built into it, let us know. We actually have a team of experts that can do that for you. They'll sit with you and they'll really understand your needs. And then they can create those custom reports for you.
After setting up a scheduled payment on the matter, if the payment for the month is less or more, how is it processed?
So I think if you mean like if there's an overpayment or an underpayment, so it basically handles it just like it handles any overpayment or underpayment of any invoice. So if I send my client an invoice for $1,000, and they, send me $1,100, I have options there. I can credit them back $100 using like an adjustment in the system that would take $100 off their due balance, or I can, put it in as retainer money. Okay, that's, you can do the same thing for scheduled payments. You can also apply the difference to the next payment if you want to do that. If it's an underpayment, then there's still a balance due on that payment. Right? So if they're supposed to be paying me $200 a month, but they only pay me $100 because that's all they have, then there's still going to be a balance due on that monthly, bill for $100, and that would actually reflect in the payment schedule for that date. So next time you go to take a payment, it's going to show that there's still that past due balance of $100 from the previous amount.
All right, it looks like, oh, nope, one more. Where do you find the Abacus system-generated scheduled payment report?
I will actually send you, to jot down that person's contact information, I'm going to send you a handout that I have that goes over all of that, and it also has little screenshots and all that good stuff. Talks about some other reports too. That'll be handy. As a matter of fact, I can just email that to everybody in the group today. So you'll have that on hand as just like a resource.
All right, great. Thank you, Scott. If you don't have any further questions, we'll go ahead and wrap up this webinar. As a reminder to everyone, this will be available on AbacusNext/webinars and will also be sent to all registrants. Thank you and have a great day.